Do 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 do. Chicken, 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 chicken. Are you? Are you? Get your book out. Hello, John O'Keefe here. Wednesday. Hello. Welcome, everybody. John O'Keefe, Mr. O. Here, present, accounted for. Ready to do some reading. Do my half an hour a day. Hey, I've been talking to a few of my students these days. I want to ask you something. Do you know how you get better at reading? Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's by reading. How do you get better at soccer? Oh yeah, playing soccer. How do you get better at talking? Yeah, practicing your talking. This is one of those simple truths in life that one needs to practice the concept of consistency. When you do, when you don't, how you feel, when you don't really want to, it's discipline, it's commitment, it's goal setting, it is preparation. And so why do I do this on a consistent basis? Because on my own, I won't always read. And so this is my time. This is my half an hour of committed time. And I'm gonna let you know that it was really, really warm, sunny, pretty out. Miss Rennie and I were hanging out, and I was getting kind of sleepy in the sunshine, watching birds in the trees. And all of a sudden I kind of looked at the clock and I said, oh my gosh, it's 4 o'clock. And I was like, okay, I'll go, because that's what I do. I have a commitment. I have an expectation of participation, right? And so we are here on the day 2 of Suzanne Collins' book, Gregor the Overlander. And I am no longer not wanting to be here. So I'm grateful that you are here. I'm grateful that you've taken the time to arrive. And do you have your notebook? Or do you have a copy of Gregor the Overlander? Or what are you going to do while this book is being read? It's not okay. Hello, anybody out there trying to play video games and listen to the story at the same time? That's not why I do this. That's not what you're here for. You're here to give that period of time, that opportunity for you to hear a great story and to do something active to activate your mind while you participate in reading. But at the same time, I'm not asking you to feel like this is like torture, because it's not. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. I try to make it enjoyable. Why? Well, because when I was your age, I was not a terribly great reader. I was somebody who never was very skilled at the art of reading until a moment in my life. And I'm not going to tell you what that moment is right now, but I will tell you, how does one get better? Thanks to my friend Josh Kahn, thanks to my other friend Korb, thanks to my other friends who enjoyed reading more so than me, and some of the ladies in my life in school who I liked, or I appreciated, or I honored, or I was secretly, like in school. And so I wanted to read because that's what they were doing, right? And so we are here, and we are in Gregor. So what do we know so far? Characters: Gregor, Boots, Mom, missing dad, some lady from upstairs. She's got an Italian name. Oh, there is another sister, Lizzie, right? Ooh, got a tickly nose. Where did they live? What time, setting, time, place? Are we talking the past? Probably a little bit in the past, but not so far in the past that I need to like go thinking that they're driving around in wagons or something like that. So they are a modern family, right? Like they are somebody who is living around this time. They live in an apartment. It's in New York City. summertime. He's stuck at home. He doesn't even have school to enjoy. So like he's dreading this idea. There's only one room in his house that has air conditioning, and it's not his. When it's really hot, then he and his mom spend time in that bedroom where his grandmother, Lizzie, and Boots sleep. How old is Boots? He's very young, because every time she speaks, it's like, bug, bees, ah. Oh, yeah, and we did have another character who showed up, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Plot. Dad has been missing for some time. Everybody thinks that he just ran off because that's what normal would be. But deep down in Gregor's heart, Dad is still someplace. Dad is close by. Dad is somewhere. And then he does have this belief that he's going to come back. But he has some specific rules about talking about his father, right? Also, what happened? Well, he had to go wash some clothes. And so he brings his sister Boots down. Sister Boots starts messing around with a vent. And all of a sudden, this strange vapor kind of wraps around and brings her down. He tries to squeeze through a 2-by-2-foot vent, and boom, like falls and falls and falls and falls. And all of a sudden slowly like lands on this strange ground, underground, underworld. And who is there but Boots and a 4-foot tall cockroach, which is where we left yesterday. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the series called The Underland Chronicles, chapter 2.5, somewhere inside chapter 2, because that's just how far we got when my alarm went off. And we start. It's almost 7 minutes in now. Thank you very much for your presence and your conversation. Let us begin. Last thing that bug, bee bug. Gregor ran toward the light. It leaped through a narrow crevice between two smooth walls of rock. He barely managed to squeeze himself through the opening. His sneakers caught on something, causing him to lose his balance. He tripped from between the rock walls and landed on his hands and knees. When he raised his head, Gregor found himself looking into the face of the largest cockroach he'd ever seen. Now, his apartment complex had some big bugs. Miss Kermachi claimed a water bug the size of her hand had climbed out of her bathtub drain, and nobody doubted her. But the creature in front of Gregor rose to at least 4 feet in the air. Granted, it was sitting up on its back legs, a very unnatural-looking position for a cockroach, but still. And that's where we left. Everything else is brand new ground. Let's dig in. Big bug! Cried Boots again. And Gregor managed to close his mouth. He pushed back onto his knees, but he still had to tilt his head back to see the roach. It was holding some kind of torch. Boots scampered over to Gregor, tugged on the neck of his shirt. Big bug, she insisted. Yes, I see, Boots. Big bug, said Gregor in a hushed voice, wrapping his arms tightly around her. Very big bug. He tried hard to remember what cockroaches ate. Garbage? Rotten food? People? He didn't think that they ate people, not the little ones anyway. Maybe they wanted to eat people, but they kept getting stepped on first. At any rate, this wasn't a good time to find out. Trying to appear casual, Gregor slowly edged his way back toward the crack in the rocks. Okay, Mr. Roach, so we'll just be going. Sorry we bugged you. Bothered you. Smells? What? So good? Smells what? A voice hissed. And it took Gregor a full minute to realize it had come from the cockroach. He was too stunned to make any sense of the strange words. Excuse me? He managed. Smell what? So good? Smell what? The voice hissed again. But the tone wasn't threatening, just curious and maybe a little excited. Be small human bee? All right, okay, I'm talking to a giant cockroach, thought Gregor. Be cool, be nice, answer the bug he wants to know. Smells what so good? Smells what? So tell him. Gregor forced himself to take a deep sniff and then regretted it. Only one thing smelled like that. said Boots, as if on cue. I poop giggle. My sister needs a clean diaper, said Gregor, somehow feeling embarrassed. The roach, if you could read it right, acted impressed. Closer come, can we? Closer come. And the roach, delicately sweeping the space in front of it with a leg. We? Said Gregor. Then he saw the other forms rising out of the dark around them. The smooth black bumps he had taken for rocks were actually the backs of another dozen or so enormous cockroaches. They clustered around Boots, eagerly waving their antennae in the air and shuddering in delight. Boots, who loved any kind of compliment, instinctively knew she was being admired. She stretched out her chubby arms to the giant insects. I poop, she said graciously, and then they gave an appreciative hiss. Be she princess, Overlander? Be she queen? Be she? Asked the leader, dipping its head in slavish devotion. Boots? A queen? Asked Gregor. Suddenly he had to laugh. The sound seemed to rattle the roaches, and they withdrew stiffly. Laugh why? Laugh why, Overlander? Laugh why? One hissed. And the Gregor realized he had offended them. Because we're, like, poor, and she's kind of a mess, and are you calling me Overlander? He wound up lamely. Be you not Overlander human? Be you? No Underlander you? Said the torch-bearing roach, peering closely at him. You look much like, but smell not like. Something seemed to dawn on the leader. Rat bad. It turned to its comrades. Leave we Overlanders here? Leave we? The roaches drew closely together in consultation, and all began to talk at once. Gregor caught snippets of their conversation, but nothing that made sense. They were so immersed in their debate that he thought about trying to escape again. He looked at his surroundings. In the dim torchlight, they appeared to be in a long, flat tunnel. We need to go back up, thought Gregor, not sideways. He could never scale the walls of the hole they'd fallen down with Boots in his arms. The roaches came to a decision. You come, Overlanders. Take to humans, said the leader. Humans, said Gregor, feeling relieved. There are other humans down here? Ride you, run you, asked the roach, and Gregor understood it was offering him a lift. It didn't look sturdy enough to carry him, but he knew some insects, like ants, could carry many times their weight. He had a sickening image of trying to sit on the roach and crushing it accidentally. I think I'll walk. Run, said Gregor. Ride the princess, ride she? Said the roach, hopefully, waving its antenna ingratiatingly. Woo, that's a good word. Waving its antennae ingratiatingly and flattening itself on its stomach before Boots sneezed. That's what happens when you read, man. Now, I've been forced to pause. So I'm going to take a minute and make sure that I understand what I'm reading right now. Okay, let's get this straight. Cockroaches have conversations with humans. Cockroaches make decisions to decide whether the humans are going to be helped or whether the humans are going to run away. But they did mention another character, rats, bad. Humans, good. I poop is a wonderful smell to a cockroach, which I suppose I could believe. They wonder if Boots is queen. They now are saying, we are going to take you to other humans who live here. Do I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on? Did you already know that? Were you like, come on, let's go, quit wasting time. Yeah, okay, fine, that's cool. But the reality is that's where I was at. All right. Ride the princess, ride she? Said the roach, hopefully, waving its antenna ingratiatingly and flattened itself on its stomach before Boots. Gregor would have said no, but the toddler climbed right up on the roach's back. He should have known. She loved to sit on the giant metal turtles at the Central Park Zoo. Okay, But she has to hold my hand, said Gregor, and Boots obediently latched onto his finger. The roach took off immediately, and Gregor found himself jogging to keep up with it. He knew roaches could move fast. He'd watched his mother swat enough of them. Apparently, these giant cockroaches had maintained their speed with their size. Unfortunately, the floor of the tunnel was even, and Gregor had only finished up track a few weeks ago. That's right. One of his skills is that he likes track, so he can run, right? Like, he likes that. He's in pretty good shape, too. And Gregor had only finished up track a few weeks ago. He adjusted his pace to match the roaches and soon found a comfortable rhythm. The tunnel began to twist and turn. The roaches veered into side passages and even doubled back to choose a new route sometimes. In minutes, Gregor was hopelessly lost, and the mental picture of their path that he'd been making in his head resembled one of Boots's squiggly drawings. He gave up trying to remember directions and concentrated on keeping up with the insects. Man, he thought, these bugs can really move. Gregor began to pant, but the roaches didn't show any visible signs of exertion. He had no idea how far they were going. Their destination could be 100 miles. Who knew how far these things could run? Just when he was about to tell them that he needed to rest, Gregor heard a familiar roar. At first, he thought he was mistaken, but as they drew closer, he felt sure. It was a crowd and, judging by the sound of it, a big one. But where could you fit a crowd in these tunnels? The floor began to slope sharply, and Gregor found himself backpedaling to avoid stepping on the roach leader. Something soft and feathery brushed against his face and arms. Fabric? Wings? He passed through the stuff. And the unexpected light nearly blinded him. His hand instinctively covered his eyes as they tried to adjust. A gasp went up from the crowd. He'd been right about that part. Then it got unnaturally quiet, and he had the sense that a great number of people were looking at him. Gregor began to make out his surroundings. It wasn't really that bright, in fact. It seemed like evening, but he'd been in darkness so long he couldn't tell. The first thing that he made out was the ground, which appeared to be covered with a dusky green moss, except it wasn't uneven, but smooth as pavement. He could feel its springiness under its feet. It's a field, he thought, for some kind of game. That's why there's a crowd. I'm in a stadium. Slowly, it came into focus. A polished wall enclosed a large oval cavern about 50 feet high. The top of the oval was ringed with bleachers. Gregor's eyes traveled up the distant rows of people as he tried to find the ceiling. Instead, he found the athletes. A dozen bats were slowly spiraling around the top of the arena. They ranged in color from light yellow to black. Gregor guessed the smallest one had a wingspan of about 15 feet. The smallest one had a wingspan about 15 feet. My ceilings in my house are about 9 feet tall. 15-foot wingspans. That means how far from one wing to the next, right? 15 feet, man. 15 feet, that's a long, it kind of looks like long, but that is not 15 feet. I mean, I think I'm probably at maybe 7, maybe 6 feet, maybe? No way, I'm 6 feet, so I can't reach here. So maybe 5 feet. Bats are playing a game in front of a stadium filled with people. Let's wrap our brains around this for a second. They range in color from light yellow to black. Gregor guessed the smallest one had a wingspan of about 15 feet. The crowd must have been watching them when he stumbled in because the rest of the field area was empty. Maybe it's like Rome and they feed people to the bats. Maybe that's why the roaches brought us here, he thought. Something fell from one of the bats. It hit the ground in the middle of the stadium and bounced 50 feet into the air. He thought, oh, it's just a ball, cried Boots. And before he could stop her, she had slid off the roach, wiggled through the other bugs, and started to run across the mossy ground with her little flat-footed stride. Most graceful, the princess, hissed a roach dreamily as Gregor headed after her. The insects had shifted easily to let Boots by, but they were an obstacle course for him. Either they were intentionally trying to slow him down, or they were so taken with Boots's beauty that they had forgotten about him entirely. The ball hit the ground a second time and bounced back into the air. Boots ran after it, reaching her arms high above her head to follow its path. As Gregor broke free of the roaches and ran for his sister, a shadow passed over him. He looked up and to his horror saw a golden bat diving straight down at Boots. He'd never reach her in time. Boots! He screamed, feeling his stomach contract. She turned around him and saw that the bat. She turned around to him and saw the bat for the first time. Her face lit up like a Christmas tree. Bat! She shouted, pointing at the monstrous animal above her. Geez, Gregor thought, doesn't anything scare her? The bat swooped over Boots, lightly brushing her finger with its belly fur, and then soared back into the air in a loop. At the top of the arc, while the bat was flat on its back, Gregor noticed for the first time that someone was sitting on it. The rider had its legs wrapped around the bat's neck. He realized it was a girl. The upside-down girl released her legs and dropped off the bat's back. She executed a perfect double backflip, twisting around at the last moment to face Gregor's direction, and landed on the ground as lightly as a cat in front of Boots. One hand went out, and the ball fell into it in what was either a feat of remarkable timing or incredible luck. Gregor looked at the girl's face, and he could tell by her arrogant expression that there had been no luck involved in her catching that ball at all. You know how you sometimes have to figure out how your brain's going to wrap around something that you don't quite understand yet? We've been working on division of fractions right now in school, and it's been taking me a lot of time to try to get my brain wrapped around the understanding of it, and it almost makes me want to push back against it. That's what the exposition of a story can do to some people. It can make you a little bit tired, and I want to let you know, totally normal. But what I'm going to tell you is, are you interested? If you are, let's keep going. Chapter 3. Hands down, she was the strangest looking person Gregor had ever seen. Her skin was so pale, he could see every vein in her body. He thought of the section on the human anatomy in his science book. Flip one page, see the bones. Next, the digestive system. This girl was a walking circulatory system. At first, he thought her hair was gray like his grandma's, but that wasn't right. It was really more of a silver color, like blonde hair with a metallic tint. The hair was woven in an intricate braid down her back and was tucked into a belt at her waist. A thin band of gold encircled the girl's head. It could have been some kind of hairband, but Gregor had a bad feeling it was a crown. He didn't want this girl to be in charge. He could tell by the upright way that she held herself, by the slight smile at the left corner of her mouth, by the way she managed to be looking down at him even though he was a good 6 inches taller than she was, that she had a real attitude. That's what his mom would say about certain girls he knew. She's got a real attitude. She would shake her head, but Gregor could tell she approved of these girls. Well, there was having attitude, and then there was just being a total show-off. Amen, I know that feeling real well. Gregor felt sure she'd done that fancy trick off the bat completely for his benefit. One flip would have been plenty. It was her way to intimidate him, but he wouldn't be intimidated. Gregor looked straight into the girl's eyes and saw that her irises were a dazzling shade of light purple. He held his ground. Gregor didn't know how long they might have stood there sizing each other up if Boots hadn't intervened. She plowed into the girl, knocking her off balance. The girl staggered back a step and looked at Boots in disbelief. Boots grinned winningly and held up a pudgy hand. Ball, she said hopefully. Sorry, there's a question mark at the end of that. Ball, she said hopefully. The girl knelt on one knee and held out the ball to Boots, but she kept her fingers wrapped tightly around it. It is yours, if you can take it, she said in a voice like her eyes, cold and clear and foreign. Boots tried to take the ball, but the girl didn't release it. Confused, she pulled on the girl's fingers. Ball? The girl shook her head. You will have to be stronger or smarter than I am. Boots looked up at the girl, registering something, and poked her right in the eye. "Purple," she said. The girl jerked back, dropping the ball. Boots scrambled after it and scooped it up. Gregor couldn't resist. "I guess she's smarter," he said. It was a little mean, but he didn't like her messing with Boots anyway. The girl narrowed her eyes. "But not you. Or you would not say such things to a queen." So he had been right. She was royalty. Now, she'd probably chop off his head or something. Still, he felt it would be bad if he acted scared. Gregor shrugged. "No, if I'd known you were a queen, I probably would have said something a lot cooler." "Cooler?" she said, raising her eyebrows. "Better," said Gregor, for a lack of a cooler word. The girl decided to take it as an apology. "I will forgive you, as you are not knowing. What are you called, Overlander?" "My name's Gregor, and that's Boots," he said, pointing to his sister. "Well, her name's not really Boots. It's Margaret, but we call her Boots because in the winter she steals everybody's boots and runs around in them because it's the musician my dad's like. And because of this musician my dad likes." That sounded confusing even to Gregor. "What's your name?" "I am Queen Luxa," said the girl. "Luxa?" said Gregor, trying to get the odd inflection right. "What means this? What the baby says? Poo-poo," she asked. "Purple. It's her favorite color. And your eyes. She's never seen purple eyes before," explained Gregor. Boots heard the word and came over, holding up her palms, which were still dyed purple from the marker from earlier. "Purple!" "I have never seen brown before. Not on a human," said Luxa, staring into Boots's eyes. "Or this." She caught Boots's wrist and ran her fingers over the silky, light brown skin. "It must need much light." Boots giggled. Every inch of her was ticklish. Luxa purposely ran her fingers up under Boots's chin, making her laugh. For a second, Luxa lost her attitude, and Gregor thought she might not be so bad. Then she straightened up and resumed her haughty manner. "So, Gregor, the Overlander, you and the baby must bathe." Gregor knew he was sweaty from running through the tunnels, but that was pretty rude. "Maybe we should just go." "Go? Go where?" asked Luxa in surprise. "Home," he said. "Smelling like you do?" said Luxa. "You will be thrice dead before you reach the waterway, even if you knew the path to take." She could see he didn't understand. "You smell of the Overland. That is not safe for you here, or for us." "Oh," said Gregor, feeling a little foolish. "I guess we should rinse off before we go home, then." "It's not so simple. But I will let Vikus explain," said Luxa. "You have had rare luck today, being found so quickly." "How do you know we were found quickly?" asked Gregor. "Our lookouts noted you shortly after you landed. As you were the crawlers find. As you were the crawlers find, we let them present you," she said. "I guess the crawlers must be the cockroaches." "I see," said Gregor. Where had the lookouts been? Concealed in the gloom of the tunnels? Hidden somewhere in the mist he'd fallen through? Until the stadium, he hadn't even seen anyone but the roaches. "These were headed here, in any case," she said, gesturing to the roaches. "See, they carry torches. They would not bother if they were not visiting us." "Why's that?" said Gregor. "Crawlers do not need light, but they show themselves to us to let us know that they come peacefully. Did you not wonder at how easily you arrived here?" she asked. Without waiting for an answer, she turned to a group of cockroaches who had been standing patiently off to the side. "Crawlers, what take you for the Overlanders?" The head roach scurried forward. "Give you 5 baskets, give you?" he hissed. "We will give 3 grain baskets," said Luxa. "Rats, give many fish," said the roaches, cleaning its antenna casually. "Take them to the rats, then. It will give you no time," said Luxa. Gregor didn't know exactly what they were talking about, but he had the uneasy sense he was for sale. The insect considered Luxa's last offer. "Give you 4 baskets, give you?" it said. "We will give 4 baskets, and 1 for thanks," said a voice behind Gregor. He turned and saw a pale, bearded man approaching them on foot. His close-cropped hair really was silver, not just silvery blonde. See, now I have to come up with another voice, right? Or your brain has to come up with another voice. There's another male in this story. So I'm going to do my best. So please just keep listening and be patient. I promise I'm working on it. It's already 30 minutes in. Luxa glared at the old man, but didn't contradict him. So Luxa says we will give you 3 baskets. Cockroaches want 5. Cockroaches say that the rats will take fish. Cockroaches ask again, one more time, bartering, 4 baskets. And then all of a sudden, somebody comes in, sounds like it might be an older person, a little bit older than Luxa, of course, and says, we will give you 4 baskets and 1 in thanks. A total of 5 baskets, which is what the original cockroaches had asked for. Luxa glared at the old man, but didn't contradict him. The cockroach painstakingly added up 4 and 1 on its legs. Give you 5 baskets, give you? It asked, as if the whole idea was a brand new one. We will give you 5 baskets, said Luxa, less than graciously, giving the roach a terse bow. It bowed back and scampered off with the other bugs out of the stadium. And if it is up to Vikus, soon we will have no baskets to give, the girl said pointedly to the bearded man who had turned his focus to Gregor and Boots. 1 more basket will be a small price to pay if he is expected, he answered. His violet eyes stared intently at Gregor. Tell me, Overlander, are you from... He searched for the words. New York City? Well, that is where we end. We have learned a few things. Sit back and wonder. We have introduced ourselves to relatively friendly cockroaches who admire Boots for a queen. Gregor can't quite understand it, but she does smell like poop, and they love poop, so wonder if that's going to be. They had a torch so that they could go visit these humans or these semi-humans that live, but they're not humans because they have strangely white skin where you can see the veins. Or maybe it's just because they live underground. I'm going to hypothesize that for right now. Boots is super brave, is totally willing to do anything for a ball. They smell like the Overland, according to Luxa, and Luxa has an attitude. She rides a bat, is completely able to be like an awesome athlete, and, well, I guess that's a lot of what it is. But they need to leave, and they have to go down some kind of river. There was some talk about river. But before they go, they have to shower because they're so smelly. They smell of the Overland. And if they smell of the Overland, they say that that's a very dangerous thing for not just Gregor and Boots, but for them, whoever them is, the people of the underground. So we are in a stadium when we leave. We have also met somebody named Vikus. Sounds like Vikus is a little bit older than Luxa. My feeling is that maybe we've got a princess and a king on our hands or some kind of leadership. But it's amazing that there's this whole group of people who live down, right? So this is where we end today. We have an amazing adventure ahead of us. I hope that you wonder. I hope that you are curious. I hope that you are considering continuing on with this amazing story. I will tell you, it will not let you down. But I found out that I'm going to probably have to fit a bunch more voices into my ideas because I think we're going to have some introductions to rats, right? Because they've been mentioned. So I'm just telling you that they planted the seed of foreshadowing in my mind. Well, that's where we leave it. That's where I am. And thank you for being here. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. I hope you take an adventure, not down a vent into the cockroach world, but rather maybe outside, or maybe into a world of your own book. But until tomorrow, I will tell you, this has been a wonderful session of reading. I feel like I got a lot out of it today, and I love you. So get out of here, and maybe, just maybe, we'll come back tomorrow. Love you. Bye.